Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Let's bring in our awesome panel. Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Hello.
All right.
Scientifically selected, huh?
I laughed.
Yeah,
I
no, I'm a huge liar. I want to set the stage for the show with that. Yeah. I mean, I am a fan of science, but I don't really use it at all.
Not
So,
even for
all right.
growing your veg.
Well, that's that's a great idea. Forget marketing. Let's talk about my garden. My huge garden.
That is a huge
Uh,
audience, so.
I do read a lot about it, but I get my information about gardening off the internet, so that doesn't seem like science. That seems like rumor.
And
Um,
that's always reliable.
Yes.
yeah, I mean, we just our attitude about the garden is we try some shit, and then some of it works, some of it doesn't. We try to remember it. As old people, we don't always remember, what worked and what didn't. But
That sounds like marketing. Didn't that just sound like
oh,
marketing?
yeah, I just
Didn't it?
defined
Yeah,
marketing.
that was
Mm.
amazing.
Uh,
Wow.
Shut up.
that is kind of my approach to everything. So having kids, some of them turned out great. But anyway, uh, let's have you all introduce yourself, and we'll start here with Tiffany. I'll make you big. It'll be great.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Vega. I am a indie author. I currently have 3 books out. One is a psychological thriller. One is a short story of urban collections. And my most really recent one that was released last month is a urban fantasy. So go check out my links and buy them, please.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
There we go.
I almost removed you from the stream. That's how good I am at this. I'm like, here's my
Okay.
options.
No.
First one is remove from stream. I'm like, that shouldn't be right. That should be like the last option. Right.
Mel, this
Anyway,
is normal, darling. This is how it is
yeah,
every time. Don't worry.
I'm a real pro. They got the best when they pick
She
me.
did
All right.
not market herself on a marketing thing.
Yeah.
I guess I'm next. So I am Claudia
Yes.
Blood. I write science fiction and fantasy novels, and I think I'm on book 8. I just had a release coming out with Ravine, and I'll be reading about that a little bit later. And I'm also an indie author. So I'll take it back to you.
Boom. So far, I haven't kicked anyone out. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. Karina.
Hey everyone, Karina Gantus, also an indie author, but also with a hybrid press and published with a small press. I am also a podcaster and a radio host of the Artist First Radio Network, and I run Author Assist, which has packages for publishers, non-published writers, and authors that have a dead book and they want it resurrected. I am the author of Broken Chains. It's an international best-selling and 4 times award-winning book. If you love dark romance, it's really dark, then pop out and get Broken Chains.
Sweet.
I want to call you a book necromancer now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, looks like I'm next. So I'm Samantha Bryant. This is Pumpkin. He'll probably pop in and out because he is a clingy boy when it is rainy outside. I write mostly with small presses. I have a series of novels called the Menopausal Superhero Novels, and currently there are 4, and I'm writing the 5th and final one. In that series, there's also 2 novellas, a collection of shorts. And when I'm frustrated with my novel, I tend to write short stories. And because I'm frustrated when I'm writing them, they are darn dark. So they are mostly horror. And at this point, I've got, 16, 18, something like that, short horror short stories that have been published in magazines and anthologies.
So what happens when you finish your series?
Then I get to write the other novels that I've been playing around with and not telling my novel that I'm cheating on them with.
Wow.
It happens. We're all cheaters.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that way of looking at it.
My name is Mel Todd. I have about 44 novels out.
Oh
I
my
mean, a
God.
couple of anthologies.
Wow.
I've been writing now for about 10 years, just about. And
44 novels in 10 years.
Girl, you're great.
My God. We need
well,
to
I
talk.
mean, but most of them are like, I mean, not all of them are novellas. I was counting it one day. I think I've reached the 2 million word mark, or I'm not far all off of it, one of the two.
Awesome.
But I write mostly science fiction, fantasy, urban fantasy. I tend to write 0 to low romance, 0 sex, simply because I'm very, very bad at it. Writing it is. I'll leave the other comments. Other than that, I mean, I am a full-time author. I have my own publishing company, and I am just trying to get rid of all the other stuff so I can write more.
Amen.
Amen,
Oh, Mel.
indeed. All right, I also am an indie author. I write fantasy, science fiction, humor. I also don't put sex in mine because I'm bad at writing it and just add it.
Go
I
on,
mean,
say it. Say it.
Period.
yeah. I mean, you know, you got write what you know, so I don't write any of that. But I also host a couple shows here on the Go Indie Now network. The Indie Mayhem game show, where mostly indie authors are the contestants. And then Mean Reviews, where I review indie books. So I'll probably bug all of you to review your stuff on there and have you be on the show. But anyway, let's jump into this marketing business. Now, I don't want like a dictionary definition of marketing, but what do you guys all think of, you know, when you're putting on your marketing hat as an indie author? What does that mean to you? Mel, you made an
So,
involuntary motion, so you go first.
one of the things I've had to learn the hard way is if something absolutely would not appeal to me, it's probably going to work for almost everybody else.
Oh, nice.
Because I mean, one of the hard things about marketing is getting past the ingrained idea to not promote yourself, to not talk about how awesome you are, how awesome your books are, and everything else. It's really hard for us to, especially women, I think, to learn to overcome that. But then the next thing is how do I get the right teaser, the right idea into people's heads so that they keep following that breadcrumbs to me? But yeah, I'm a very anti-advertising person, so I roll my eyes with a lot of stuff, but there's lots and lots of people that like it, so I have to remember that I cannot base my marketing efforts off of what would or would not work with me. That's a hard learned lesson.
Nice. Anybody else want to jump in? Tiffany.
I think it's pretty much just putting it out there. I mean, if you don't put it out there, then you can't market your book or yourself. And it's just taking those steps of getting eyes on your work.
All right. I mean, that makes sense.
It's right. It's everything after you've published. It's everything you do after you publish to try and get, like you said, eyes on your book. And I don't know about you guys, but honestly, I'd rather write another book than deal with any of that stuff because it's social and it's like, you know, short. I mean, what do you do with that? But that's what it is, marketing.
So Ron, I think you asked something like, "What's the word? You know, what do you think of?" And I think mine is dread.
Yeah,
Dread, horror, discomfort,
it's a short
torture.
story.
Yeah.
Karina.
Muted.
No, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you. Oh, we could try lip reading. This could be fun.
Sign language is usually easier.
We could do one of those bad lip read videos, though. That could be fun.
Oh, that could be
True.
fun. Yeah.
All right, Samantha, you do Karina's voice.
How's that? Am I
Oh,
back?
that's better.
Yes.
Oh, that's so weird.
I'm so good.
Okay.
I sound just like her.
So, as someone who's been working in marketing and promotion for the last many, many years, I don't have a fear of it. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie, though. But you have to market yourself as an author before you market your books. If you're going to sell any books, they need to know who you are, not getting personal, but they need to know that you can write. So basically, you put yourself out there, you put your book out there. It's not about buy my book posts, and we've all talked about this. You slap the cover on, you slap the link on, you slap the blurb, and off you go. No, it's about them, the readers knowing that you are a good writer. So it's review quotes. It is other people's word of mouth that actually sells your books. They're not going to listen to an author saying how great their book is. Every author is going to say that. They need to show how great their book is with review quotes, with excerpt from the actual novel, to show that they can write, to show their writing style, to see if a reader wants to pick up that book. But I have to say that out of the box marketing is not what we think it is. We think it's, oh, let's do something different with our marketing that someone hasn't done before. That's how we think of out of the box marketing, being different and not following the herd. But it's actually a term referring to actual data that you get back from your readers that then tells you what kind of marketing you need to do. And the data that you get is actually, and you know I hate AI, AI is playing a really large part of gaining this data for you about who your readers are and the stats on them. So one of the main things they're saying at the moment about out-of-the-box marketing is pay-per-click. Now, we all know what that is. And as many of you, we hate advertisements. We don't like advertising on Facebook. We don't like advertising on Amazon. But what they're saying is to try Google. If you've had enough of those two places, then try Google Ads. But pay-per-click is a way to go, apparently, for out-of-the-box marketing. So I thought I'd just point that out.
But I think that part of that marketing is also telling them the experience they're going to have reading your book, right? It's about, if let's say you're a romance reader, there's the tropes and there's different things that you can help that reader identify whether the book that you write is what they want. And you have to find those and be able to put that in your marketing so that when you have that touch, there's that connection that they're pointing out in the comments. There's that connection to that person that says, hey, I totally want to read about, superheroes and menopause. That would be out freaking standing. Let's go see it.
It's interesting that when I think out of the box, what I'm thinking is whatever box I'm in, right? Whatever the things are that I've already been doing. I'm an introvert and a writer with a day job. So any kind of marketing, like I said, the main word I approach it with is dread. But I also want a career, right? I would like to be able to someday quit that day job. So I think the box I'm in is all the things I have already tried. And I'm always looking for, okay, well, what's something a little different? What's something that I haven't tried? And I find that I do better with in-person events. And I think that has to do with what, was it Karina who was talking about how
you sell yourself before the book.
Yeah, sell yourself, right? And I feel like I can come across better and give a better sense of who I am and what kind of person I am, and therefore what kind of books I would write in person, where we have these more casual interactions where you come talk to me at my author table or in a room where I'm on a panel and that kind of thing. And so I've been working on building my comfort with putting myself out there that way. And then the out of the box part is seeking new venues, not going back to the same con I've done for 8 years because I know everybody there and I feel comfy now. I have to go someplace where I haven't already told everybody at that con about my books.
Okay.
So how successful do you all consider yourself at marketing?
Yeah.
Still finding my way.
Come on, if we were successful, we'd be living as full-time authors being bestsellers for all our books. Yeah, well done, Mel. But it's how you define success, Ron. Everyone thinks of it different ways. Me, it's getting a new review for my book. It's getting an award for my book. If that happens, I feel very successful. It's not about selling so many copies that you become a New York Times bestseller, and that's got to be 5,000 in the first 2 weeks of release, by the way. So not much to not much to think about there. Go on, Mel.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things about marketing is remembering that marketing does not equal sales. Marketing equals a brand and getting to know you. I know that A.L. Mingle has made a couple comments about getting out. I do a relatively large amount of cons. I do Dragon Con pretty regularly. I do a lot of cons around the South. And one of the things that I always remember, because I'm a pretty hard introvert, is the second I step out of my hotel room, I'm on. Every person who walks by me is a possible reader. They're a possible fan. I make sure I smile at everybody, and I try to present a consistent personality because I want people to know that I'm fun. I'm going to talk to them about books. I'm going to be engaging, even if when I'm done, I go close my hotel room door and pretty much just collapse on the bed and shake. But that is probably more marketing than almost anything else because it's people getting to know me. And when they get to know me, they're more interested in picking up my books. Now, I do a lot of things that are, quote, out of the box, but they're more things that I've stumbled into. I'll give you an example. Has anybody heard of the NYC Midnight Contests?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of their contests that I did on a lark is the microfiction contest. And I did that, and I was like, this is fun. I like doing these. And I have bought a lot of photos for advertising and stuff because I want to make sure I'm not violating copyrights and stuff. So I started going through my photos and I would just grab a photo and I would write a micro short about it. And I started putting those in my newsletters. So every single newsletter I send out has a micro short based off of a random picture that I grab because I went, oh, that's
Perfect.
pretty. And I write a story about it. That for me, there are people who are like, oh my gosh, you have to write a series off of this short story. And
Yeah.
note that they're usually 300 words. They're tiny. And then the other thing that I did is I wrote fan fiction for a long time. I have 500,000 words of fan fiction. So when I went and started doing my original stuff, a lot of the fanfic readers followed me over because they already knew what I wrote. They already knew they liked my voice. They liked the types of stories that I told. So that helped drag them along. And some of them are like still to this day my biggest fans.
That's awesome. So you kept your name when you were writing fan fiction?
No, all of my fan fiction's actually under another name, but when I started going original, I just went and
Told
updated my
them who you were.
profiles and said, hey, if you like this stuff, you might like this. And if you don't, I mean, no harm, no foul. That's fine. I still write fan fiction. I just don't write it as often. But I have to admit, I kind of love fan fiction because I get to ignore a lot of the quote rules that we're supposed to follow as professional authors. I get to just do things that don't make sense, and they're fun.
Yeah, no, I'm another one who writes fan fiction, but under a different name, so I can't have my readers go over to know who I am. It's a totally different thing to what I write as my novels. So yeah, it's like a totally different person over there writing fan fiction.
Do you think it would make sense to establish what the box is? I was thinking about what you said and about the examples, and some of them I would have thought, well, is cons normal? Is that in the box or out of the box? Like, what is the box that's considered standard, normal, whatever marketing for authors? Is there how would you guys define that?
I'm not quite sure that I say there is a box. I think there's a perceived box. The perceived box is Amazon ads, Goodreads, Facebook, and BookBub. That is pretty much, everybody says this is how you market, is in this box. TikTok's getting added in there. Instagram's getting added in there a little bit. But most people think
Newsletters.
yeah, newsletters, they have all these defined things. I think when you talk outside the box marketing, you're talking about the things that aren't as obvious. Conventions, which a lot of people either aren't comfortable doing or don't know how to do. I mean, if you aren't in the con world, getting access to be invited as guests and attending professionals seems like this huge barrier you can't figure out how to get past.
It does make a
Doing
big difference
things,
where you are geographically.
yes. Oh, yeah.
So
The South has a lot. The Pacific Northwest has a lot.
So I also think, because I am also very new, I only have 3 books out, that anything that somebody who can start off would be what you consider the box. So like Amazon ads. And then for me, being outside of the box would definitely be going to cons, doing things like this, being a guest on a panel, and getting anything that just a new person could not have like immediate access to. Would be anything outside of like the box for me. So my box is a lot smaller than people who have been there for a long time who has a huge box.
I've had the most like outside the box success when I can find things to participate in that aren't necessarily obvious as author events, where I'm like the author who's there, instead of it's an event for authors and I'm one of 65 authors who are there, or however many. So like an example of that is, since my books are the Menopausal Superhero series, Menopause the Musical came through my town. And my then publisher reached out and got me a table. So at Menopause the Musical, I had this little side table.
Oh,
And when
perfect.
people came out to buy their t-shirts, they saw that they could buy novels that were about menopause and superheroes. And it was great. And several people who found me that way, became people who sought out the other books. Because I think at that point I only had 2. I think I'd only written 2 of them at that point.
Well, I like
Cool.
that. Before we get into weird stuff too much, what about just success stories about the normal stuff, like the things Mel was listing, and newsletters and ads? Are people, are you people, you 5 people, having success with that normal stuff?
With newsletters, yes. Every newsletter I do my own and I do my clients, they always sell from cross promotion, because it's the cross promotion. People are seeing your book for the first time in other newsletters, and they've never heard of you before. They've never seen your book before, but because that author is putting you in their newsletter. And the same with, you're giving something new to your readers. It's not all about your book this time in this newsletter, it's other books. And I've never not had a sale from a newsletter. So they work for me.
Nice.
I also think it depends on how, like, you talk about success. I do a lot of TikToks and I get a lot of engagement from TikTok. And so I don't know, like, the conversion from that to sales. I mean, when I have a TikTok that does really well, I do see that I have more sales, but like, I don't know what the conversion rate is. But it's all about engagement, getting people to be like, oh, I really want to read that. Or, can you give me more information? That to me is more successful than like knowing that they're actually buying the book, because they might recommend it to somebody or save it and share it somewhere else.
I find I've played around with all different kinds of social media, because I'm always like, oh, shiny, let's try that one. But I think key is trying to have an idea where the people who are your most likely audience are. And so for me, that's Facebook, because it's the Menopausal Superhero series, right? So my audience is largely middle-aged women within 10 years of my age either side, and I'm 52. Well, not quite yet, but I'm practicing saying it. And so I get good engagement on my Facebook author page, and I know that Facebook author pages, for a lot of people, it does you don't seem to get much engagement. I hear from lots of people like, I don't know, I gave up on that one. I don't get much engagement, but I do. And I think that's because of what I write, and that's where my audience is. If I was writing urban fantasy that was mostly read by 25-year-old people, Facebook wouldn't be the best place to reach out to them.
Good point.
No, you're right. I'm old and I love Facebook.
Yeah, me too. Keep
Although
track of all my old students. They're up to
Although
no
I
good.
normally call it the Facebook. That's
The.
how old I am. I love the Facebook. Yeah. Anyway, Claudia, Mel, I guess.
No, I think it's funny. I have tried a whole bunch of different ads, and I've tried, the Facebook. I've had some success driving people to newsletters with, the cookies, having stories, and I've got a really cute Halloween thing that I put out for Halloween that does drive some people to newsletters and some sales through newsletters. And it's funny because I have friends who are indie authors as well, and they've got great Facebook and Amazon ads, but they also have like, I'm a genre smasher, and that makes it harder to market. And the person that I'm thinking of is in a particular genre, in a particular trope that she really likes, and all of her books are that way. So she gets, once she grabs somebody, it's amazing sell through, and there's not that extra sort of hop to jump across when you genre smash. So I've had some success, but I wouldn't call it like, great success. I'm still looking for my thing.
How about you, Mel? You look rich.
It's all the books.
Trust me.
Yeah, look at those. Those are physical books.
my library is something else. Honestly, what really probably has worked the best for me is the fact that I had an established audience when I decided to go into publishing my own stuff. I have never seen ads go, oh my gosh, there's a direct correlation to me doing this ad and these sales. Usually what happens is word of mouth, and then word of mouth just will spread like wildfire. Again, I like actually interacting with people because then I can figure out what to say. Trying to do an ad, it's like, I swear, throwing spaghetti at the wall. Which one's going to stick?
Mm-hmm.
Mostly, though, for me, I think that most of my success simply comes from I'm not following all of the. So the whole right to market stuff, your story has to have this, it has to have that. My stories don't have that. They also don't right to market. And I suspect that there's a much larger audience out there for the things that would never be acceptable in a traditional publishing that wants that super broadband level of storytelling. You actually can make really good money on the more niche markets, or just the markets that maybe don't fit into the standard. Oh, this is a best-selling novel by Patterson.
It's like Al. He calls himself Al, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I think she
that's not
She's
great.
froze.
All right.
We were
Well,
talking about snow.
yeah, I expected my internet to crap out all the time, not somebody else's. But listening to Mel, I was curious. Do any of you write to market, or have you? I mean, Samantha, no, obviously, with her series, because there's no such thing as a menopausal fiction market that I'm aware of.
I'm
But
trying
anybody?
to get one.
Yeah, no, you're trailblazing. But I do have a friend that did it. Had great success. I hate him now. I'm just telling you. When
I feel like
people
I've done it a little bit in my short work.
right.
For a novel, that is such a commitment of my heart and my energy and my time. And, given that I do this alongside a full-time day job, writing a novel is a minimum of a year for me. So I have to be personally passionate about it to invest like that. So I'm not going to write to market for that, because writing to market might mean I'm not personally passionate about it. But if we're talking about a short story, like 30 to 50 pages, I might play with something just because I look and I go, werewolves are really hot right now. Maybe I should write a hot werewolf, and see what happens. And I'm fine with doing that with something short that I'm playing with. And whether that's successful or not, I have no idea. But it is fun and it gets me to try a lot of different things and stretch and grow as a writer and increase what I'm comfortable writing. So I think it's good, whether or not it puts money in my pocket.
I know that one of the things I've talked to a lot of new writers about is writing to market is fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But if you're writing a zombie story and hate zombies, but you're writing it because that's what's hot, the story's going to fail every single time.
Yeah.
You need to, if you're going to write to market, there has to be an aspect of that story in that market that you're absolutely in love with. Maybe you're doing the zombie story, and the part that you find fascinating about zombies is the researchers trying to either replicate or cause it. Great. Then you write that story. If you're just writing the same zombie story everybody else is, there's not going to be anything that's going to suck your readers in because you're just going through the motions. So you have to at least have something that you're like, oh my gosh, I get to write about this.
I feel like Mel is wrong that the people I hate are gonna write a shit story, and it's gonna be totally a copy of something, and then they're gonna become a billionaire, like just to crap on me.
And
That is what's gonna happen.
Yes, it's all to get back at you
All to
for
you.
no other reason.
Well, I feel like the universe is getting at me by having them get success. They're
So the question is, what did you do to the universe, Ron?
Oh, I got so much stuff. I hate the universe.
Yeah, see?
Stupid universe.
But you love Amazon.
I do love Amazon. Yeah, they for many reasons. Back at Prime, getting all that crap. Anyway, I'm sorry. Karina, it looks like you have something to participate to add.
I do. Were you just saying about trying to write in different genres? I had the opportunity of being part of an anthology, and basically she told me exactly what she wanted. It was a the theme was revenge, and I always wanted to have a go at paranormal with the alpha wolf. So I wrote a short story, got to the total limit of the words that she was allowing. That's how good I was getting into this story. It made me bawl my eyes out when I got to the end, so I know it's got to be good. But this was totally new for me. I'd never done anything where I've had a theme that I had to stick to, where I've stepped into a different genre for this short story. I am a prolific author. I do write in all genres. I've just never done a paranormal alpha revenge type a story before, but it was an experience. I'm still waiting to see if it gets in the anthology, but it's good when you step out of your comfort zone and you try something new. And as I was saying before I got cut off with Al, he was saying about reader magnets. When you have a reader magnet, not only are you going to get that person signing up to your newsletter, and I've already said newsletters work with cross promotion, but you're also going to allow that reader to read your work, to see your style of writing, to see if you can write, to enjoy your short story or a chapter out of your new novel. And then you've got more chance of them going over to Amazon and buying your book.
Is it Amazon, or is it just I mean, they're real.
It's Amazon.
They're real. Like, they really are there. Anyway.
Unfortunately.
So I think what Samantha was saying as far as like having a connection with the book is like what I do. I don't write to market. And matter of fact, if you go look at my reviews for my very first one, the biggest thing that people say is they were surprised by the ending, because I don't like really happy endings. And so I write to what I want to read into a story. And if I feel like it's a better story if you have a personal connection with it and you're writing the book that you want to read, because then you can market it better. You know it inside out. You can go out there and say what you like about it that will intrigue people that want to read it. So if you're just writing a cookie cutter type of book, you're not going to have a personal connection and go out there and say exactly what you like about it, other than it's like this. If you like this book, you're going to like this one because it's the same thing.
So. That is great
I
shorthand.
love that you don't have happy endings, because it's reality. Romances aren't all
the optimist in me just cried.
sorry, but romances aren't all chocolate and flowers and lovey-dovey. Not in reality. Most of them are divorced. Most of them have affairs. Most of them are not happy endings, you know. I have a happy for now. I'm satisfied with a happy for now.
One of the first stories I wrote, it's technically a romance, but at the end of the story, the hero dies.
Yay!
Wait. Everybody is like, oh my God,
heart right there.
This isn't a romance. And I went, yes, it is. They were married. Last time I checked, the goal of every marriage is to die in each other's arms. That literally was the end of their story, was holding him as he died. And I'm like, isn't that the entire point of marriage? Is you want to die with that person.
Just share the chores. Come on.
Boy, I don't feel like you watch the news a lot if you think that is the goal of every marriage.
Okay, it's supposed to be remember those vows till death do us part? That's technically what that is the absolute definition of a happily ever after.
No, wait, did she kill him?
Until
okay.
No, she didn't kill him. It was an entire setup. They got married knowing that there was a time limit, that he only had a couple years, and so he died in her arms. Isn't that exactly what you want out of life?
Sometimes, yes, I would like my wife to die. She's just horrendous.
Why not say that on the record, dude? If anything happens, you're gonna look back and be, this is cause right there. That's motive.
That's going over the line there, Ron.
Yeah, we'll edit that out. Don't worry. This isn't a live show. But no, although I will say, while I don't want my wife to die, we'd have agreed that our goal for the marriage is to win the marriage. We both are striving to win the marriage, not to be happy or any of that stuff. Just trying to win.
This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't write romance novels. I win would be the title of it, Anyway.
So writing to market, right? I tried to write romance. So it's so funny that I'm here all offended about the romance. And I totally tried to write romance. And I, and I had this great idea for the story and I could not write it. I could not make myself do this to those people. And instead, I think there was an alien invasion in that one or something that came in and it totally got sidetracked. And, romance on the side is fine for me, but like that chorus, like, God, there's nothing happening. How can I who can die? Like, who can right? Like, or what kind of weird thing can happen? Like, can there be space travel or like aliens or I don't know, witches, something, put something in there. So yes, no to market.
I'd read that. I want to know about failures. What is something you thought was, a marketing idea you had? You thought it was going to just really be amazing, revolutionary maybe, and then it failed. It didn't.
How about blog tours?
Ooh, okay.
Ooh. I've done some blog tours and they were not, they were fine. I mean, they were fine. And I even tried to go and write up the comments and everything else, but I just don't think they're effective anymore. If they ever were, they were not effective for me. At least the ones that
I think there's a lot of them where somebody thinks that would be an easy way to get into having a business as a marketer, and they'll charge you, not that much. Often they're like $25, $30 to be a part of their blog tour, but they don't really have any followers. They haven't built any kind of platform. And so you might as well just, call your Aunt Susan and put it on her website.
Where have you been going, Samantha? Give me the name so I can avoid them.
But I do think some of them just don't really have much of a platform. Building, I've been blogging for a very long time and I have a decent platform there, but it took a long time. Again, I started with mommy blogging in 2009. And now most of my posts get a fair number of reads, not like, John Scalzi reads or something, but they get a fair amount of reads and I feel pretty good about it. But it takes time. You can't just decide you're going to be a book blogger next week and have thousands and thousands of followers. You have to build it.
Yeah, that's the problem with some of the blog tours. They take up any bloggers and the person who's buying the tour doesn't know how many people how many followers they have on these blogs that they're going to be posting about the book. I've had 2 really successful ones where I sold up to about 50 books. And then when I went to the same one with the same genre of book, I sold 7. It was like, you know, it was exactly the same genre of book as the other 2. It was the same tour, same price, same probably reviewers, but it just wasn't the time for people to go out and buy the book. It just didn't work.
Tiffany,
Yeah.
you look sad, so I assume you've had lots of bad marketing experiences.
No, I mean,
What's
not.
one?
Is writing my book? Does that count?
Wait, that's
Yeah,
supposed
sure.
to be the fun
Confidence, girl, confidence.
part.
Yeah, if you guys need an example, I'll give you one. I started an OnlyFans page. No, I'm just kidding. I did. Oh shit!
Circling
I mean,
back to the beginning.
I do think it would fail if I did it, but I'm just saying I haven't.
Um,
One more thing to add on the blogs thing. When you're doing paid tours, one of the things I'm always running into is there any curation? Do they just take anybody who will give them the money, even if their book is terrible? Like, what kind of company am I going to be in? Because if we're putting my book next to a really awful, poorly put together, poorly thought out, not well developed book, then that's going to fall on my book. Somebody who got this one's going to go, well, that was crap, and I learned about it here. I learned about Samantha's book there too, so hers must also be crap. So I'm paying a lot more attention when I'm taking on projects and tours and stuff of who else is in it and what do I think of their work.
The last blog tour that I hired, she actually wanted to read the book before she took me on as a
Nice.
as an author, which I was really happy about. And she took me on, so I'm waiting for that next month. It comes out February.
Nice. All right, let's take a break. Let's do the indie connection right now, and then we can all, take a break. I don't know, go jogging, whatever you guys do to take a break. All right, here it comes. You guys ready?
Hey guys, C.O. Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another Indie Connection. Today I'd like to tell you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of Love on the Brain by Ellie Hazelwood. The first book I have for you is called Blinded Me with Science by Tara September. Opposites attract like a magnet to steel, or in this case, Emerson to steel. Emerson Powers has been so focused on obtaining her science degree that she's neglected the more social aspects of college life. With the new start of her junior year, she's determined to fix that with a real hands-on lesson in biology. The assignment is simple enough. Teach the rockstar's son how to be good, while he shows her how to be very bad. 2 objectives, 1 outcome. Will the lesson be love or heartbreak? Steele is no longer the bad boy Emerson knew from prep school, and he's set to prove it by helping Emerson complete her secret list of desired college experiences. And if he can convince her that they're meant to be together along the way, even better. While teaming up on experiments, both in and out of the classroom, Emerson discovers a new side to Steele, leaving her to question everything she thought she knew. Still, is it enough to forgive the past, or just mere chemistry? The second book I have for you is called Smart Mouth by Emma Lee Jane. The rock star. There are lots of assumptions people make about rock stars. Shallow, player, addict. The truth? I'm none of those. The even bigger truth? The only opinion I care about is hers, and she hates me. Her, as in Gwen Matthews, my twin brother's best friend, the unrequited love of my life. She thinks I'm a liar and a jerk, which is why I pretend to be my brother when she needs help one night. Except Gwen is a genius, literally, so it doesn't take her long to figure out it's me and not my brother. But maybe, just maybe, she's willing to give me a second chance. Because maybe when she looks at me, she only sees a rock star with her best friend's face. But when I look at her, I see my other half. She centers me in a way that no rhythm or line of lyric ever could. The scientist. I have 3 priorities in life at the moment. Finish my research, defend my dissertation, and get my PhD so that I can actually figure out what I'm supposed to do with my life. Tom Mendoza won't help me achieve any of those things. Yet I can't help the sudden feeling that I've been completely wrong about him all this time. The day we first met when we were both teenagers, I saw a glimpse of a sweet, funny boy that felt very much like a kindred spirit. Awkward and full of energy and dreams. But that guy seemed to disappear, and in his place was this stereotypical, stupidly hot rock star that did not make sense in my world. Being a scientist means being willing to admit when you're wrong and reevaluating everything. I might not understand much about human behavior, but I can clearly see the tender underbelly that Tom protects. The subtle rituals he uses to stave off his anxiety. Yes, he's ridiculously hot, but his soul just might be more beautiful than his face, and I'm not sure what to do with that, especially when I find out that he's in love with me. The third book I have for you is called Level Up, a Fandom Hearts novel by Kathy Yardley. It's a rocky road to success for 2 oblivious to love video game developers who share a house as well as a goal. Tessa is trying to make it in the boys' club world of video game design. Her housemate and co-worker Adam is supportive, but he sees her as one of the guys, which is fine. She's too busy trying to get ahead to even think about romance anyway. That is, until they start working long hours on a shared game project. And they also share a few unexpected kisses. And they lose electricity and have to share one sofa bed by the fireplace to stay warm. They never saw the chemistry coming, yet now it's impossible to ignore. But when Tessa gets an offer for the perfect job, how can she choose between everything she's been working towards and the love she never expected? And the last book I have for you is called Elements of Chemistry by Penny Reed. 1 week, private beach, invisible girl, jerk face bully. What's the worst that could happen? Caitlin Parker has no problem being the invisible girl, which is why she finds herself hiding in various cabinets and closets all over her college campus. Despite her best efforts, she can't escape the notice of Martin Sandik, bad boy, jerk face bully, and the universe's hottest, wealthiest, and most unattainable bachelor, who also happens to be Caitlin's chemistry lab partner. Caitlin might be the only girl who isn't interested in exploiting his stunning rover's build, chiseled features, and family's billionaire fortune. Caitlin wants Martin for his brain, specifically to tabulate findings of trace elements in surface water. When Caitlin saves Martin from a nefarious plot, Martin uses the opportunity to push Caitlin out of her comfort zone. Spring break, 1 week, house parties, bathing suits, and suntan lotion. Can she overcome her aversion to being noticed? Will he be able to grow beyond his self-centered nature? Or, despite their obvious chemistry, will Martin be the one to drive Caitlin into the science cabinet of obscurity for good? Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on the Indie Connection. Bye.
And we're back. Thank you for staying. That was very nice. You guys are the best.
Oh man, we should have done it. We should have all arranged not to be here when he came.
Oh,
Yeah.
see?
And he-
Hindsight.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been funny.
That would be funny.
Hilarious.
I have a book
Yes.
up instead.
Yeah.
All right. You guys have talked about some of the continuous marketing things you do, the newsletter. How many of you guys have a newsletter? You know, does everybody? And is it growing every month?
I've got good engagement. I don't have a whole lot of growth, but I'm not focusing on growth right now.
I am
And
terrible about
writing.
writing for mine often enough. You know, I send it out when I have news, and sometimes I have news often, like 3 months in a row. And sometimes I don't really have any news because it's 4 months till my next thing comes out. And I'm really terrible during those. I don't feel like I have news months about putting something out. So that's something I'm trying to change this year is being more regular about putting something out, kind of treating it like I used to treat a lesson plan where it just has certain segments, and those segments don't necessarily have to do with news from my writing life in case I don't have any. Like, this is what I've been reading. Here's another author friend you might enjoy. Hey, here's a picture of my dog, because he is cute.
But don't you have 2 dogs?
I do, but one of them is a goblin.
Yeah, I'm not publicizing that monster. I get it. Okay. Well, what about other? I mean, okay, ads, continuous ads. Our comment earlier. The you know 7 times. You gotta. People need to see the same thing and average 7 times before they check it out. Like for advertising, for whatever it is you're doing for your marketing.
Yeah, it's about visibility, Ron. If your book is out there and people are seeing it more than 3, 4, 5 times, you've got more of a chance of them actually going out and buying that book. So any kind of publicity that gives you any kind of marketing that gives you visibility over the scale, not just social media, but like what we're doing now. This is the opportunity now when you're on the screen to hold up your book and say, go buy my book. So you take every opportunity you can to have your book visible to anyone who's going to be seeing it.
Well, like that awful friend of mine who writes to market also does ads all the time. And I believe his are Amazon ads. He used to do Facebook, switched to Amazon, but he's always got ads running, and he tries different things. He's tried BookBub, but I don't think there's ever a day that there aren't ads running somewhere for him, and it works. Do any of you guys do stuff like, do you have the continuous marketing
So
things?
I have issues with ads. I am very much an ROI person. So if I'm spending $50 on ads and I don't see at least $25 in sales that I can directly link to those ads, I'll shut the ads off, because while I agree with the whole you have to see it multiple times, I'm not willing to just sit there and dump money when I am 100% certain that if I publish another book, that's going to get me more visibility than anything else will. So I tend to run super low level ads, like on Amazon. I have something that runs for like $1 a day. It rarely spends more than 20 cents, because I just care about the impressions. I just care that it pops up when people look at things. I don't care if they buy it or not. I actually just care that there's a low level trickle of impressions. Facebook, I do for specific things, like I'm getting ready to do one because I'm relaunching a series wide. I will be doing structured Facebook ads for that. But otherwise, unless you have a lot of money that you can spend,
Bingo.
I am not good at spending that money on ads. I would rather spend it on a new cover, on getting into podcasts, doing newsletter swaps, and writing my next book.
Yeah, for ads, especially Amazon ads to work, you need to have that money. You need to put that money in. And we see people like Mark Dawson going on about, Amazon ads. He spends 20, 30,000
A
on
month.
Amazon
A
ads
month.
per month. Exactly. But
A month.
he gets it back. He makes it back. But who's got 20, 30,000 to spend on ads? If I had 20,
Especially when you don't get paid for another 90
he's
days.
spending it on ads, I'd spend it on a holiday or something, that makes it more to me.
Yeah, I haven't really played a whole lot with paid advertising, partly because of budget, but really more about time. Like, I feel like I don't have the time to put into analyzing the stats and figuring out what's working and not working. I fit my whole writing life into about 2 hours a day. And I need about an hour of that to be actual writing, like me making new things. So that gives less than an hour for all the social media, all the advertising, all the business of writing kind of stuff. And so I haven't played with it, mostly because I feel like I wouldn't get that much out of it if I can't put the work into the analysis to make it useful. But I do look for not social media ads. Like, for example, I'm a big fan of a local theater, the Carolina Theater, and I'm there at least once a week for their retro film series kind of stuff. And this year I sponsored one of the films.
Mhm.
So when people go to that film, at the beginning of it, there'll be a slide that says that this film was sponsored by the Menopausal Superhero series of
Perfect.
books. And we'll have a picture of one of my covers on it.
Mhm.
That may or may not lead to anybody buying my book, but it does contribute to that see something 7 times things.
Visibility,
Somebody
yeah.
in the audience is going to go, oh my God, menopausal superheroes, and maybe they'll buy one. And if not, I still supported something that I like anyway, so I still feel good about having spent the money.
No,
So
I like it. It's real weird. Sorry, Tiffany.
That's right. I do Amazon ads, but I do Facebook ads as well, but not very low because I'm just starting out. I don't have the money to spend on it. But what I notice also is there's a lot of free things. Like you can do author swaps. You can run promotions with other authors to advertise their books as they advertise yours. Like Book Channel has a great program with promotions. TikTok, Instagram Reels, all that has been working for me because they will come across your stuff multiple times. So especially with TikTok, if one goes viral, people will comment, okay, give me the link. And then you just have to be like, oh, you can go to my profile. And that seems to be what has worked the best for me so far, is doing the Instagram Reels and TikTok. And it's
Well, they say,
yeah.
they say TikTok is the #1 platform now for authors. Just answering Daniel's message there, Daniel. For your first book, your debut novel, you need to, well, any book, you really need to have about 3 months of marketing ready to go before it's released. And that includes your advertising. It includes your podcasts and your radio shows and your blog tours. All of that needs to be put in place before the release of your book. And advertising on your first book, definitely, because it's all about visibility. Whether or not they buy your first book, they need to see it. People need to see it everywhere. You need to spread that book many places and many eyes on it. Twitter, I mean, Twitter is a dump and run. We don't know how long Twitter's going to last. But if you use TweetDeck, where you can automate your Twitters and have them come every, I don't know, 10 minutes or whatever, someone is going to see your book. I know it goes down really fast, the thread, but if you have it going every 10 minutes for 24 hours, someone is going to see that book. And it only takes about 10 minutes to do these automated tweets.
So for me, I disagree with her. And remember, anybody who's listening, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to writing, your mileage may vary. Do what works for you. But I don't think that's necessarily a good idea to invest all of your heart and soul into the first book, especially if it's the first book in the series, because more and more readers aren't even going to touch a series until A, they have faith that you're actually going to continue it, and or it's actually done. And because they've gotten burned both by traditional publishing and indies, that they get really into a series and then the series gets dropped and it's never continued. So, Daniel, for your specific question, are you doing a standalone? Then great, go for it. But be aware that it's a lot harder to market a standalone if you don't already have a good audience. If you're doing a series, I would do, hey, I've got this brand new book. It's book 1 of the series. Let people know and work on the second series. This is one of the big reasons that, or the second book in the series. This is one of the big reasons that so many people talk about rapid release. And I have done it, but I've only pulled it off because I literally finished the book, had it edited, and let it sit there and wait. Took another 3 or 4 or 5 months to write that book, let it sit and wait. I think you can get a lot of mileage out of that simply because it gives people faith that you're not going to get them hooked on book 1 or book 2, and then you're going to go, oh, I'm not making enough sales, and quit. So, but again, your mileage is going to vary.
I mean, as a reader, I've definitely done that. I've definitely avoided series that are partially started, or unless I love the author and they've proven to me in other series that they'll finish it.
Well, I definitely think something to consider is buy through. If you are doing ads and you are hoping to make money off of them, it is unlikely to happen with your first book because you're unknown, you're reaching out to a bunch of people. So I mean, I did it. I just wanted some kind of, some publicity for my book. My first novel, I did it, and every time somebody bought it based on that ad, I was like, man, I'm losing a lot of money. And I didn't have anything else for them to buy, so I did it for a while, and I had that money to kind of to waste or to spend to invest in the long term. And I pulled it back, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to wait till I have more books out, and that
Yeah.
if the advertising works and I get somebody to buy it, then they have more things to buy,
Yeah, you
and
don't
then
Read-through
I'll
is
be
super
rich.
important.
I'll be rich and pretty.
you don't spend a lot of money on ads, but again, you just do it for visibility. Don't expect to have sales from ads on your first book, but just make sure that as many eyes get on that book as they can, and start writing your second book straight away.
Did you guys see in the comments, we've got one from AF Stewart who is disagreeing about the cost.
Mhm.
They mentioned Brian Cohen, and I've looked at Brian Cohen myself, and I think he does have a lot of good advice. Like I mentioned already, though, the problem for me is time, having time to do all that analysis and everything. So it doesn't really matter that it's less expensive if I can't commit the time. But have any of
Yeah.
you looked at his stuff and used it?
I've done some of his stuff. Again, I have ROI issues. He is 100% happy to spend $100 and make 110. I won't do it. I just won't, because I can make $10 and not spend any money. So
Right.
but I understand, and I do understand that for some people, any level, and I actually know Brian. I've talked to him at multiple conventions and conferences and stuff, and he is right. His stuff does work, but I'm not willing to spend that money for that level of ROI. Like I said, mine tends to be about 40%. If I'm not getting 40% or higher, I'd rather just write the next book, because that's a better return on my time.
Mm.
But I mean, again, your mileage may vary. There is nobody, and I mean nobody, that speaks that you should say, "Oh, I have to do every single thing they say," because it might
they
not
do,
work for
run.
you. Yeah, if they do not listen to them. If they say this is the only way to do it, if you do it any other way, you're wrong. Look at them and say thank you, no thank you, and walk away.
Mhm.
And every author who is a teacher that I have spoken to is going to agree, because what works for them may not work for you.
Yeah,
Like you say,
unless
you
they're your husband,
throw it at the
then you
wall,
should
don't
do
you?
what they say.
Throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. You just keep trying. Keep trying.
Because we all have different walls and we all have different spaghetti, pushing the
All right,
analogy.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
do have one last question for everybody. I loved Samantha's movie theater
Yeah.
weirdness. But what else? What other weird things have you done in the hopes? You're like, nobody has ever thought of this, or this is not common at
Not
least, and
possible.
you did it. And like, I know one guy, one author, face tattoo of his cover.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Not
No, that's a lie.
couple. Uh-uh.
But wouldn't
Oh,
that be
okay.
awesome, though? I mean, we were
Speaking
No.
of
all
that,
walking around with our
No.
cover. You wouldn't
I
really be
can't
able to update it
remember.
very easily. But
I think the author is Stephen Higgins. I could be wrong, but when he goes to any sort of convention, his T-shirt literally is the cover of every one of his books on the back, and then the front is something like, "I write books. Check out the back," or something. And that's what he
Why
wears
not?
to every single
Nice.
one. And I'm like going,
Yeah.
okay, more power to you. There's that
Yeah.
one.
He's
And
an
then I've
extrovert.
sponsored. Oh, he is a massive extrovert. Like,
I don't know if I want all those people checking out my back.
See, now I want to do it.
Now I'd be paranoid
I've
about how my
sponsored
hands fit.
things, but I mean, the one thing that I do the most. Hold a second, let me grab one.
this is
What if
making
I did that
a
with
great
pants?
show right now.
I have.
Oh, like the words on your
This-
butt,
On
like
your
the-
butt?
You have to say like
Put a
I
pair of pants on
do-
with the cover on it.
you have to say like
I do
pretty
ribbons
babies.
with
Oh,
QR
yeah.
codes.
Oh yeah, those are good
Because
at cons.
most conventions you get badges, and so people like to collect ribbons to put on the badges. But I started doing QR codes on mine, because then they can scan it, takes them to my website, so that 6 months, a year, 2 years later, when they're looking at this going, what the heck is
The
this
hell is
ribbon
this?
about?
Yeah.
There's information.
I like that. I had business cards done, and every bar or restaurant or a coffee shop I went to, I made sure I put them in the bathroom on the mirrors and everything. And it was going well. But I live in a small village, and it weren't long until they found out who was doing it. And then I had someone come up to me and say, "Are you the one who's putting those business cards in my bathroom?" I was like, "Yeah, sorry." I said, "Okay, then put them on the desk here." So
I do
I
similar,
tried.
but with bookmarks. I always have them in my bag, and I especially watch for places where I think my audience is. So when like I go to get my mammogram, and I'm sitting there in the office with the pile of magazines, some of my bookmarks end up on the table.
Nice.
Yeah, because if you're getting a mammogram, you might be my audience.
I've heard some people actually go to bookstores and go to a similar book as theirs and actually put their bookmark inside that book. So when
Ooh.
someone buys it and they take
Wow.
it back home and they open it up and there's this advertisement for a very similar book, but one you've
That
never
feels
heard of.
sneaky. Some kind
That
of
does feel
guerrilla
sneaky.
I
advertising
think you
there.
could get into big trouble for that, but I've heard
That's very
that, yeah.
aggressive.
That
I
is.
was just
Yeah.
throwing my books at people.
Did you say throwing?
Here.
Duck.
I do this. This is
Mine-
like one of my books. So on the back, there's a QR code to download the free book.
Yep.
So
Nice.
if I'm out and well, I'd like to see your book. Okay, great. Here's a free one because it's book one in the series. So you just do the book and then book funnel. Book funnel is worth the money. Trust me.
Book funnel is brilliant.
Mhm.
Love book funnel.
I do very personalized marketing. I meet
Oh,
a
gosh.
person and then sell them the book. So I just need to meet like 1 billion people.
I'm picturing
And
you
then
like
I'm
walking
set.
up to people at tables and being like, "Hey,
Yeah,
you like
I dress
books?"
like I work there. Like I'll dress up like I'm the maitre d' at a restaurant. And I'll be like, "Hey, how's your dinner going? You know,
Well, that's
I
how
also
Charles
write a book."
Dickens sold them. So you know,
That's
yeah. You have literary
That's how I used to have to do it
aspirations.
before Kindles came out and it was all ebooks. You know,
Well,
when it was just paperbacks, I had to go up to people with it and say, "Hey, I'm an author. Check out my book." You know, it's the only way of selling the paperbacks that way. There was no ebooks back then, so
Well, when somebody I know reads my work, they're like, "Oh my God, I can really hear your voice in this stuff." So that made it very obvious I needed to meet everybody first before they read it. Otherwise, they wouldn't know, you know. So I guess that is science. So
I had a
all right,
friend, and not actually a friend, an acquaintance who knew I was an author who's like, "You know what? I'm going to volunteer your book for my book club. This is the type of book they would like."
oh, nice.
Yeah. So I
I
thought
just
that's
did
kind of
that
cool.
for a friend of mine. So
Yeah.
because I run a Patreon that has a monthly book club, and she just had a new release out, and I was like, "Oh, guess what? We're reading for our book club," and that's the book we're reading.
Boy, my friends suck.
Really better friends.
That's a tough
That-
realization.
one of the out of the box marketing that I read upon is loyalty programs. Now I know you've heard them happening for other products, but apparently if you've got that those people in your Facebook group, what do you call them, teams,
Street
what do we
teams.
call it? Street teams, thank you. And you do a loyalty program. Okay, promote my book, you get so many points. Review my book, you get so many points. And after so many points, you then give them a badge, and the badges then turn into later on into Amazon gift cards. Of course, you're not
I
going to do
want
that
the
with a
PA
free or a
that runs that.
99 cents book, you know. But that's what they're saying, to try and do that now.
That sounds like
I
work.
don't know.
I'm not going to lie. That sounds like a lot of overhead.
It's a lot of
That is
I'm like,
love.
I want the
too.
PA that can run that. You
Yeah.
yeah, I mean the person who says, "I'll run this for X
I'll
amount
run
of
this
money."
for
Here
you.
you go.
And I'm real low tech. I want to do the card, the punch card. You know, they buy 100 books from me. You buy
Mail
100
me
books
your
from
punch
me,
card and I'll give you a
Yeah,
punch.
and then the 100th
Bad
book is
luck, and then
100th book is free. It's gonna be short and real shitty, but I mean, it'll be free.
that sounds really expensive too. Like having to pay for
52
stamps every
cents.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
They just have to come to my house.
Oh, okay.
They'll get some
My
food from the
comfort just
garden. I
left.
overgrow. We grow so much
You
food.
want people to know
So
where your
much
house
food.
is?
I mean, I gave
You're
one of
braver
my
than me,
old high
man.
school teachers. I gave one of my old high school 20 dozen eggs last year.
Last year, did you hear
Last
from him again?
Yeah.
Was there
Yes,
a book hidden
yes.
under there?
No, but once there was raspberry, I kept feeding him,
Well,
sticking other
giving
food in
people
there.
eggs right now is a very
I'll-
generous gift.
I
I'll
know.
take the eggs.
Exactly. Although
I'll
it's
take the
winter,
book. I'll take the free book.
it's winter, so the production has really dropped down. But once we get some to spring again, because 14 chickens produces like almost a dozen eggs a day, and I love eggs,
Wow.
but not a dozen eggs a day worth. So
How
they
is that
pile up pretty quick.
marketing?
You can sell those
Not
for
good.
like, $10 a dozen right now. So
That's true. That's true. Buy
That's
my
his
book,
marketing
get an
budget.
egg. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's
Actually,
it. Buy
You
my
you have
book
free
and I'll
egg
egg.
give you a dozen
cartons.
eggs.
You have egg cartons with your book
With your book.
tagline
that's a
on
good
it
one,
and a little
yeah.
QR code so they can scan it to buy your book.
And
That
you
is
can
great
Craig.
idea.
The chicken, read my book.
It's excellent.
All right. Finally, I feel like we've given people some great advice.
Claudia.
Useful, total takeaway. So we should probably move to our final 5 minutes with Claudia, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
me.
All right. Before we go, thank you to everybody. Why don't y'all take a chance besides Claudia, because she gets our whole 5 minutes. But just to tell people where they should find you, we'll start with Mel.
You can find me at Badash Publishing and on Facebook under Twisted Luck Books, and then on Amazon and a lot of other retailers under Mel Todd. Please come buy my books. I need to pay for things like rent, or not rent, but electricity and eggs. I need eggs.
Eggs. Yeah, right now, eggs.
Eggs.
Sure. All right, Samantha.
Hi, I'm Samantha, and this is Ghost. He's the one who's a goblin. And you can find me and my work at SamanthaBryant.com. Pretty much if you want to find me on social media, I'd say just Google Samantha Bryant and put the word author, because if you don't put the word author, you get the actress, and I don't do high heels and ball gowns. But I do books, the menopausal superheroes and short form horror. Come find me.
What if you Google Samantha Bryant menopause?
I don't know. I haven't
It will
tried
come
that.
up.
Let's go look.
You have to spell it right.
Yeah, I'm curious now. But all right, you'll have to inform us in a moment. Karina.
You know me, I'm an author and I also run Author Assist, but I want to tell you about a fabulous event called Kindness and Gratitude Summit. It's on now up until the 25th. I'm one of the speakers on the summit. You speak it's for businesses, entrepreneurs, and remember, every single author out there is an entrepreneur. It is your business. Your books are your business. Go there, check out the summit, listen to the speakers, and get loads of freebies. And it's free to attend.
I have a summit too. It's called Assholes Jerk. No, I'm just kidding.
So
But I
Samantha
feel like I
Bryant
should now. I
Menopause
feel like
works
I'm
really
losing
well, by
money.
the way.
What?
What's that?
Bryant Menopause works really well. It's not just my books; it's all the like guest articles and stuff I ever wrote, and it's all me.
Nice.
So that
Yeah,
works.
nice.
There you go.
There we go.
Well, I went to a state school, so I'm pretty smart.
Ah.
All right, I'm Tiffany Vega. You can find me on all my social media is Books by Tiffany Vega. So check it out. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you want to go. I'm there. And if you go and buy my book, I'll make Ron give you some eggs.
Yes.
Brilliant.
That was brilliant.
That is brilliant. All right. So let's all get out of here and leave Claudia to her business. So
Bye.
goodbye,
Bye.
everybody else.
Okay, so I get to read an excerpt from Ravine, which is the first book in the Renegades Rising series. It was just recently published. And this is from chapter 3. Just a little background. Her daughter died in the first chapter as a tragic accident. And Ravine is not handling it well, as you can imagine. And she volunteered to be a pilot on the first manned light drive flight. So she's going just about the speed of light. And she's been alone for a while. So I'm going to go ahead and start this. And she was watching porn because she ended up taking the place of a guy who was on there, and she's evaluating it about different categories, if it sucks or doesn't suck and that kind of jazz. She's going to write a research paper. So anyway, here it is. The sheet read, "So you know the truth," in loopy handwriting that looked familiar. What truth? That her daughter had died? She was already well aware of that fact. Guilt and remorse heated her chest. Was this video meant to punish her? But the words were not about punishment. They were about truth. They implied she did not know the full situation, that the video was intended to supply some piece of information that she'd been unaware of. She had not been allowed to, and quite frankly, had not been any condition to, investigate her daughter's death. It was possible it had been more than an accident. Strangely, that thought gave her hope. Ravine sat back in the chair, the paper crumpled in her fist, the edges stuck into her palm, causing a paper cut. The painful ache pushed at her chest, making it hard to breathe. She was a scientist. As a scientist, she sought to discover the rules of nature. She had wanted to explain and predict what happened to the world to make it better for mankind. In essence, she sought the veracity of the universe. The note challenged her understanding. It was data that hinted that all was not as it seemed or that a theory or formula was flawed. The note was evidence she did not know the truth of Horizon's death. Was it wise for her to know? Would it relieve the knot of feelings that she had about the event? She already hated Saigen because the project prioritization caused the safety feature to be lax. Would she learn something that would cause her to lose whatever small ground she'd gotten to get back to normal? Ravine resisted the urge to destroy the recording. The satisfaction of stomping on the tape and lighting it on fire would mean she would never know if she truly knew the circumstances of her daughter's death. Ravine did not want to see Horizon die, but if there was more to it, she had to watch. She started the video again. Horizon walked alone down the hallway. Ravine's grief and rage pulsed in her chest. She knew this hallway. This was the hallway that connected the main area to where the light drive installation had been. She'd walked it down 100 of times. The camera angle switched. Horizon came from the top of the screen and walked to the bottom. The next angle showed an entrance to the passage leading to the shaft. Horizon climbed in, down the ladder. She slipped once and caught herself. Ravine's throat closed. The next splice of film was her daughter getting to the actual shaft. The timestamp counted down the seconds to the end of her daughter's life. She was vaguely aware of the pain in her palms and the feel of her nails digging into her skin. The tunnel shook. Horizon looked up and froze for a second, but then her face hardened and she resumed her downward trek. Go back, Horizon said. Even though she knew this was a video of the past, there was nothing she could do to change what was happening on the screen. Horizon snatched up her dolly and held it close, burying her face in the yellow yarn hair. She tucked the doll into her arms and turned to leave. A bright light flared in the background. Her head came up from where it had been buried in the doll's hair, and she looked back towards the light. Ravine couldn't catch her breath, her chest squeezed. The camera was close enough for Ravine to see Horizon's eyes widen and her mouth open, but there was no sound on the security video. Ravine couldn't look away. The horrible feeling of knowing what was coming and being unable to change anything froze her. Horizon turned and ran back the corridor. The rainbow-colored flames streaked from the end of the hall. The white tile blackened and cracked, chasing after her. The damage caught up and was only a few feet behind her. There was a blast of light, and then flames burst through and covered everything. The image distorted as the camera burned away. The film cut back to the porn, but Ravine didn't see it. There had been something in that final moment of her daughter's life. Ravine became aware of her surroundings again. She did not remember standing. Her breath panted out, but for the first time she had a strange feeling fluttering in her belly. Was that hope? With the remote in her hand, she clicked back frame by frame to the flash. She had seen something in that last moment. Another click, the rainbow flames filled the hall, leaving white tile black and cracked in its wake as the flame encroached on her daughter. With the next click, the flame shrank back and the space where they'd been was empty. Ravine's stomach dropped. Even at that temperature, there should have been bone fragments and ash. Upon the next click, her daughter reappeared alone and running for her life. With one more click, a woman Ravine had never seen before popped out of nowhere into the space the flames had vacated. The woman lunged forward, grabbing Horizon and hoisted her into her arms. Ravine sat down hard. The chair slid away and she landed on the floor. The air rushed out of her lungs. She clicked forward and back, watching the millisecond increments and decrements of the timestamp on the bottom corner. One frame, her daughter was alone. The next frame had appeared, and she had grabbed Horizon. How had it been that the strange woman was in the tunnel with her daughter? Ravine clicked 5 clicks again. Horizon was there in the woman's arms, and then with the click, the space was empty. Shock and hope made her dizzy. She closed her eyes and leaned against the wall, struggling to understand what she had seen and, more importantly, what it meant. Could her daughter be alive? She uncrumpled the note and read it again. So you know the truth. The truth. My daughter is alive. And that was an excerpt from Ravine. She goes on to discover time travel. This is the first book in the Renegades Rising series, and the next book, Mouse, is coming out soon. And remember, it's always time to go indie now.